and today I am sharing my tips on how to have and how to prepare for a natural unmedicated birth. Now this is going to be a two-part series. The first one I'm going to share how I prepared for my first unmedicated labor and what I'm doing now to prepare for hopefully my second, and then the part two is what I did as far as pain management, and I'll probably have that video out soon after this one, but I kind of wanted to separate it that way so that way you can watch this video if you are preparing, and then the second one, how to get through birth and how to manage your pain. So let's get into the video. Now I do have to throw out a disclaimer and just tell you that I'm not a professional. These are just the tips that worked for me for my first pregnancy and for my first delivery, and what I am doing to implement these tips into my second pregnancy and delivery. So let's get into the video. If you like this, please like and subscribe. I would love to have you follow my pregnancy journey, and I'd love to do the same with you. So let's get started. My very first tip for you today is the most important out of the whole list of tips that I have, and that is to work on your mindset. This is something that you can start off as early as you finding out you're pregnant. I personally start to work on my mindset, yes, when I find out that I'm pregnant, but to really focus in on my positive mindset, probably about halfway through my second trimester is when I start to really just focus on having a positive mindset about birth. I did this with my first. I focused on, telling myself deep down I wanted an unmedicated natural birth. And if you have it in your heart to have a natural unmedicated birth, then it is more than possible. Remember that our bodies were made for this. We were made to have an unmedicated birth before epidural came around, before any sort of pain medication, before any sort of intervention came around. We birthed women birthed without any of that. So we're made for that. We are very capable of that, but it has to come down to your mindset. So if you go into birth and if you go into labor and you tell yourself, well, I can try to have, I'm going to try to have an unmedicated birth, you're not going to. You have to have the mindset of having an unmedicated birth early on in your pregnancy before getting to delivery day. So if you get there and you have, oh, I might have an unmedicated birth, I'll try for it, but if all else fails, I'll have an epidural. You're more than likely going to reach for that epidural. And not to say that that's wrong, then that's okay. But I'm more so talking to those of you that, like myself, have and had my heart set on an unmedicated birth. I worked very early on my mindset. I knew that I could do it. I know that I can do it this second time around because I've done it already. Now these next few tips are going to be what helped me to focus on having a positive mindset and how I feel I was able to keep that positivity throughout my whole second trimester and whole third trimester. So let's get into the next tips. Okay, so my second tip that helps you with as far as having a positive mindset is affirmations. And this could be something like you having posters posted around the house, whether it's in your bathroom, your closet, your kitchen, your fridge, anywhere that you walk by very frequently that you can read it, just to remind yourself that you are capable of having a positive birth. And this can be something like, it could be scripture, it could be something like my body was made for this. It could be just anything that you feel is going to keep you in that positive mindset. Another way that this can work great is if you carry around a journal with you in your purse. I have just a small journal, and what I did is I wrote down all of my fears, and instead of writing them down like in a fear, like a sentence that's stating my fear, I switched it to something positive. So obviously one of our fears is to have a C-section. So on my journal, I wrote down, I will not have a C-section. I wrote down, my baby will be healthy. My body was made for this. I will stay calm. I will have breaks between contractions. Everything that you either fear or everything that you are hoping for that day, you write that down. And I have found personally, yes, I do have affirmations around the house, but I found personally that having a journal that I take with me, I carry it in the diaper bag or my purse, and I read it every single morning and night just to remind myself of what I'm wanting for that day. Now, I don't know if you're a believer when it comes to you attracting negative when your thoughts are negative, but I truly am, and I have had so many instances where I was thinking something negative and then something negative happened. So our minds are so strong. There's just so much that we don't know about our own mind, that we're capable of so much. So if you tell yourself every morning and every night, be positive, right? Reading all the things that you want for your birth, they're more than likely to happen. And I understand that plans can change and emergencies can happen and all of that, but it's a very slim chance when you are going into your birth with a positive mindset. Okay, so tip number 3 is to create your own birthing playlist. I don't know if you have Pandora or Spotify. I have Spotify, so I created a playlist of all the music that I want to be playing that day, and I've been listening to it every single day. Now, I have worship music on my playlist because that is what helped me my first delivery to keep calm and to stay in the moment. So I created early on, like in my second trimester, my first pregnancy, I created a playlist of all the music that I want to be playing that day, and I just listened to it every single day. Another tip I have going along with that is to listen to positive podcasts. There's plenty of podcasts that talk about positive births, and there's the Positive Birthing Company. There's the Birthing Hour, I believe it is, that I also follow. And just listening to those positive birth stories can help you so much. You have to stay away from all of the negative birth stories. And I know that when it comes to having birth or giving birth is a very hot topic when it comes to having conversations with moms about your birth and how you want it to go, because most of the time, if they have a story to share of a horrific delivery that they experienced, they're gonna share it, and that scares you. And you can tell them, I'm sorry, but I would rather not bring that negativity into my mindset right now. I'd rather just be positive. Once I have the baby, you can share the story with me, but at this moment, I'd really like to keep that out of my mind. So you can say no like that, so that you can keep listening to positive things, whether it's podcasts or music. Now, as I mentioned, I am a believer, and one thing that I really feel contributed to having a positive unmedicated birth my first go around was listening to the Supernatural Childbirth. I listened to it on Audible, and I'll link it down below if you want to check it out, but it's just talking about how women have had painless births. And you're probably thinking, okay, there's no way that anyone can have a painless birth, but yes, it is very, very possible. A lot of people hear that and they think that I'm crazy. When I've talked to somebody about it and I've shared how people have had painless labors, this doesn't necessarily mean that there's gonna be zero pain in your birth. A lot of people hear that and they think that I'm crazy. When I've talked to somebody about it and I've shared how people have had painless labors, this doesn't necessarily mean that there's gonna be zero pain in your birth. You're going to feel the contractions, but if you change your mindset as far as it's a muscle contraction. If you played sports, I played a lot of sports back in my childhood days and my teenage years and all of that. And I used to get a lot of muscle contractions on my legs, my hips, sometimes my core, all of that. And I remember just telling myself, it's okay, it's just a muscle contraction, and then it would pass, and I just got used to it. So if you go into that mindset with it's a muscle contraction, it's not pain, nothing, it's not hurting me. Yes, it's intense, but it's getting me somewhere. You really have to listen to this. It's either audiobook or read it or something, but it helped me so much in my first delivery. And although yes, I did have back labor, once I was complete, I got through all of the contractions fairly quickly. I dilated from a 4 to a 10 in probably 2 hours. And the nurses were freaking out. And I know a lot of that has to do with me going in there being positive, and the fact that I just viewed my first birth differently than a lot of my friends that were pregnant with me. at the same time. And I just feel like a lot of that has to do with listening to this audiobook. So I'll just go ahead and link it down below if you're interested. Check it out, please, because it was very, very helpful. Okay, so my next tip is for those of you that like to diffuse. I really recommend diffusing a certain scent that you know you're going to want, that brings calmness and peace and takes away your stress, whatever it is. Diffuse every single day that blend that you're going to want to diffuse the day of your delivery. And what that does is it brings you that sense of home. It makes you, I'm delivering at a hospital, and as much as I'd love to have home birth, it's just not going to be something that's going to work for me this time around. But because I'm having a hospital birth, I want to bring that sense of home into my delivery room. And the best way that I have found that worked for my first was diffusing a certain scent every single day, so that when I diffused it that day of giving birth, I just felt calm. I felt calmness, I felt peace. I just felt like I felt safe because if I closed my eyes, I pictured myself at home in my own space, because I could smell what my own home smelled like. So diffuse early on in your pregnancy, whatever blend you're going to want at your birth, diffuse it every single day so that you can bring it with you and remind yourself of your home. Close your eyes and picture being at home. And that is one thing that really helped me as well. Now, the next few tips that I'm going to share is how to prepare your body. Now, we worked on mindset. The next thing is your body, because they work together, obviously. If your mindset is not where it needs to be, then your body's not going to work with you. If your body's not where it needs to be, then your mind's not going to work with you. They kind of go hand in hand. So the next few tips are what's going to help you with preparing your body. The very first one is very obvious, and that is to exercise. And I have a few friends when I was pregnant with my first that mentioned to me, well, I'm pregnant, I'm eating for two, I can sit on the couch all day if I want, have my legs up, eat what I want. And that's just not the way to go. That's not going to help you have a successful delivery. It's possible that you will have a natural birth if that's what your body is allowing, but for the most part, a lot of women that do not prepare their body by exercising and staying active go on to have an epidural. Now, you can either look up pregnancy safe workouts on YouTube, you can sign up for a monthly program. I am actually signed up with Knocked Up Fitness. I'll also link them down below if you have not heard of them. I did use their program with my first pregnancy almost every single day, and I'm doing the same thing for this one. And all of their workouts are pregnancy safe. They have first, second, and third trimester workouts that you can do. They have a workout plan for you that's all planned out with what workouts to do every single day. It's just a great way to stay motivated, to stay consistent, because you don't have to worry about planning, but you don't have to go that route if you don't want to. You can look up pregnancy safe videos on YouTube. What you really want to focus on is a few different exercises, which is squats, and squats is a big thing. Wide squats, getting down low, where you'll be working on the elasticity of your pelvic floor, just deep squats to prepare you for labor. The second thing is going to be working on your pelvic floor, and there are a few different exercises you can do. You can do hip raisers, and there's a few different workouts that you can do to work on your pelvic floor, but that is a huge one. Without your pelvic floor being strong, it's going to be very hard for you to deliver your baby successfully. Now, the third one is going to be working on your core, because you need your core as well to be strong to be able to push the baby down. So you have to make sure that they're pregnancy safe workouts to work on your core. And that is working on your pelvic floor, staying active, working on your core, and just making sure that you're doing your deep squats every single day. If you do not have time for a whole workout, at least work on your squats and your pelvic floor. And a few different exercises that you can do that work really well for your pelvic floor are a cat-cow. And if you haven't heard of that, just look up on YouTube. There's plenty of pregnancy safe workouts that include the cat-cow exercise, and that helps a lot with your pelvic floor. You also want to look up safe workouts that include your birthing ball, because you can take your birthing ball into the hospital. I took mine the first time around. I'm gonna take it again. It really helped me to ease through the contractions. I either sat on it or I was on all fours resting on top of the birthing ball. But there are other exercises you can do that include the birthing ball, so look for those exercises as well. My next tip is to start drinking red raspberry leaf tea at 32 weeks of pregnancy. There have been a ton of studies showing that red raspberry leaf tea can help you have successful contractions. Now, red raspberry leaf tea, it has to be red raspberry leaf tea. It cannot be red leaf tea. It has to be red raspberry leaf tea. And I'll link the one that I'm using down below that I used as well for my first. And this is basically a uterine tonic. It helps, there have been women that have said that it has helped them to induce labor, but there's a way to go about it, a safe way, where you drink 1 cup. I usually do 32 weeks to 35 weeks. I'll drink 1 cup a day. 35 to 37 weeks, I'll drink 2 cups a day, and then 37 on, I will go up to 3 cups a day. And that just gives enough time to get that tea into your system. And there are a few different reasons why this tea is so powerful and why it helps so much. And one of the biggest things, like I mentioned, it's a uterine tonic, and it helps to strengthen your uterus. It helps to make your contractions stronger. And by stronger, I do not mean more painful. I just mean that it gets you to your end goal. It helps to progress your contractions, to progress your labor, so that you're contracting and you're actually getting somewhere, and you're not just contracting and not getting anywhere. It also helps to prevent excessive bleeding when you do give birth. And that is one of the things that I feel helped contributed to I didn't hemorrhage and I did not have excessive bleeding. If anything, the doctor said that I did really well when it came to bleeding. I didn't have a lot of blood coming out. So that is another thing that I feel helped as far as giving birth and with contractions and how I went from a 4 to a 10. Aside from mindset, I feel like that is one thing that really, really helped. So do your research, but I do really recommend trying red raspberry leaf tea if you are currently close to your 32-week mark, or planning for it if you're not that close yet. My next tip is to eat dates. And I know that sounds funny, but if you have not heard of this, I really do feel like this also helped. And eating dates starting at 36 weeks. So they recommend to start eating 6 smaller dates every single day, 36 weeks and on. And this helps to ripen your cervix. So when I got to the hospital that they checked me, I was already at 4 centimeters, and she told me that I had a very soft cervix, which is really, really good. That's exactly what you want, so that when you are dilated, it's easier for the baby to come out. So starting at 36 weeks, it would be 6 small dates or 3 medjool dates. Now they're pretty high in sugar, which is why you only want to have 3 of the medjool, if they're the medjool, because they're bigger, and then 6 of the smaller ones. And this is another thing that you can do your own research on, but there have been a ton of women that have stated that they felt like this is what helped them to ripen their cervix for when that time came that they started to contract and to dilate. And last but not least, my last tip is to practice your breathing every single day. There are a few different times that you can practice this. You can practice this when you're just sitting on the couch. You can practice it standing up. But the best time to practice this is when you are actually going to the bathroom, and that is when you are doing number 2. And the reason for that is because they've actually said that you're not supposed to push when it comes to using number 2 or to doing number 2. You're supposed to breathe it out. And this is a perfect time for you to practice this breathing. And by that, the way that you do it is whenever you are breathing in, your stomach goes out. When you're exhaling, your stomach goes in, and you're kind of bringing in the bottom part of your belly. Picture it as a zipper. So you're kind of zipping up from the bottom of your belly up to your head. I'll show you here shortly what I mean by how it should look, and that way you have a better idea of how to practice your breathing. But do this every single day. Obviously, you cannot prevent tearing 100%. You can prepare by practicing your breathing so that you breathe the baby out and you're not necessarily bearing down and pushing the baby out where you're more likely to tear. I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I mean by breathing, and let me know if this is what you were already doing. So the best way to do this is to leave your hands on your belly right here so that you can feel what you're doing every time that you breathe. So when you inhale, your belly goes out. And when you exhale, you're gonna picture a zipper from right here that's zipping up. So exhale, and you're zipping up. Inhale, exhale. And every time that you exhale, you want it to be a breath that kind of like when you're blowing a candle. So let's try this one more time. You inhale, exhale. And you can feel where it feels like if you're zipping up and you're kind of hugging your baby. And you're going to see the difference that it's going to make when you try this. Next time you go to do number 2, try this and you'll see what I mean by being able to breathe it out. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you will take these tips and try them for yourself if you are planning for an unmedicated birth. I wish you the best of luck. I pray that you get what you're wanting. I know that we can't necessarily plan and have it go exactly the way it's planned, but you can try your hardest to have a positive birth. So please focus on your mindset. If there's anything you took from this video, I really hope that the main one is focusing on your mindset and making sure that you're staying active. Do what you can to prepare your body and your mind at the same time. So leave a comment down below if you've tried any of these tips, and if you have any other tips for me, leave a comment as well, and I would really like to try them out for myself before I give birth. I'm currently 33 weeks and I am really focusing on my mindset right now, especially listening to my music, my affirmations, writing in my journal, all of them. I'm doing every single one of them with the exception of the dates. I'm not there just yet, but I hope that you give these a try. Let me know if they worked for you, and thanks again for watching. I will see you in part 2 where I go over what I did to help with my pain management the day of giving birth. Thanks again. Bye.